Welcome back to another episode of the Easy Button Real Estate Podcast. Today we have a returning guest, Mr. Justice Rodgers. Hope I didn't butcher the name.
No, you got it right, man.
Say so many names every single day. And we're on the floating studio today. If you guys have listened to the show for a while, we used to do shows on the floating studio a few times a month. We're back, bringing some of those back to you guys. So Justice drove down on a beautiful Thursday morning here in Mission Bay. And we got some good stuff coming your way. So Justice, give us a rundown of what you got going on right now, what your business is looking like in 2025, what you got cooking. I know we're going to dive into some of the flip stuff you got going on and whatnot, but just a general consensus of 2025, what you got going on, how the new Porsche is treating you. I know it was in the shop for a while, but
yeah, finally got it back. Thanks, Cole. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. So essentially, my name is Justice Rodgers. I'm a local real estate broker here in San Diego. And essentially 2025 nowadays, man, it's essentially just dialing in the systems even further. We're all about improvement year over year. And essentially, now that we have the leads piece of the puzzle figured out a little bit more, no doubt about it, it's just making sure that the machines surrounding that leads pipeline is well optimized and well oiled, because my days in 2025 are looking a lot different than 2024. So,
how so?
Well, I mean, in 2024 and 2023, it was a lot of manual prospecting to get leads, right? So it's been 2-3 hours a day prospecting, whether it be expired, circle dialing.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, spending hours to get 1-2 leads a day, and then finally working those and still being an agent full time at the end of the day. And now I'm able to buy myself out of that and then more focused on higher leverage activities in terms of just dealing with escrows and following up with warm leads instead of trying to create 100 cold leads to make a deal and whatnot. So nowadays the bread and butter is still resi brokerage. That's still the main goal, and doing the best I can on that. And then also, with all these new leads that I have in the system, more so just making sure that I maximize them from, anytime you meet with a prospect, going from giving them the option of the traditional listing route, the off-market route, flip route, lease option. There's so many different exit strategies on how to monetize these leads. And that in 2025 is what I noticed is the biggest differentiator.
One of the cool things I think from when we originally worked together and you came in as a client was we spent a lot of time just on sales process, phone scripts, things like that. I've always thought it was really cool. You've never hesitated to be on the phone. And I think we have a lot of, a lot of new listeners to the show. A lot of them are agents, investors that are struggling right now to either get their business started or continue to grow it. How has the phone played into your success so far early on?
Yeah.
Creating your first few listings and deals from that. And kind of speak to that a little bit, because there's so many people who are trying to figure it out at the beginning of what do I do to get deals, whether they're an agent or an investor.
Absolutely.
And you've always, I feel like you've had a natural kind of instinct to pick up the phone and dial every day.
Yeah.
So walk through kind of your journey, just being on the phone since the beginning, and how that's played into you being able to really, I mean, because you're only a couple of years into the business.
Yeah, a few years in. Yeah, I mean, great question. Honestly, I think really when I started out, someone told me this, I forgot who specifically, because I had quite a few mentors and still do. The phone is essentially a remote control to life, especially in the sales world, right? So I learned that, and that resonated with me. And I saw a couple other young guys that were doing well, that were also prospecting. And I figured at the very beginning, fast forward, or rewind back in 2021, if they can do it, why can't I? And they're prospecting, and let's get to it. So essentially, I saw firsthand it pay off, from putting in the work, generating leads yourself, following up, and going from a complete cold stranger to someone who trusts you into, inside of their home, and, charges you or, entrusts you with selling their most valuable assets. So, my first deal, it happened to be a bit lucky. This was back in 2021. This was a family member who, got, had to move out of state, and, they trusted me, and I did a good job with them. But the second deal, which was a couple months later, that was earned, it was a $2,750,000 listing in Ramona that was literally an expired listing that was gained from literally dial-in.
What did I do?
Yeah, so I mean, when I saw that, and mind you, I was 21 at the time, and I said, being 21 at the time and realizing the power of following up with people, how TTP, which is talking to people. I've heard that from another real estate investor.
Brian Daniels.
Yeah, he's a cool dude from what I've seen. And essentially, I just saw that it worked. So, hey, this prospecting gig, it works, whether it's myself, whether I'm paying somebody else to do it for me. It's one of the best marketing channels, because, who has at the beginning, $10,000 a month to waste on direct mail and do it for 6 months to 12 months in order to
the cheat code. The
Exactly.
phone's a cheat code.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my team asks me a lot of times, and I tell them about kind of my origin story, and I mean, when I became a real estate broker, that probably lasted 3 months, and I got rid of my license, and I was the worst real estate broker ever, but then I decided to do this wholesale thing, and I sat in my parents' upstairs bedroom, borderline attic for, like, I don't know, maybe 6 months before I got a deal.
Yep.
But that phone is a cheat code at the beginning. What is, you start, when you start, over a year ago, you probably started working with us at EBO for leads. What does that look like in terms of building your lead flow pipeline? How have you found success with those leads? Like, what is your sales process right now as an agent investor to work the leads that you get from us, convert those? And we'll get into one of the flips you have going that you source from us as well.
Absolutely. It's been great. And obviously there's more to be dialed in, no doubt about it. But for pretty much what I have going on now is I have with EBL specifically, when I first started out, my current sales process that is dialed in and you guys helped out big time with is, leads get produced, they get pinged to the CRM via Zapier. And essentially I have a follow-up system that manually or automatically follows up and has a drip sequence and whatnot, and make sure that the leads are touched. That way, if you get a few leads in a day and you're out on the field, making sure some sort of system is following up with them and whatnot, and qualifying their interest. So that's been good. It's been to the point now where honestly, it's a situation where adding people leverage in terms of helping out and following up even
Have you
more.
hired?
That's my next step. And I know I've been logging for
We've been,
so
we've been
long.
talking about. I love Justice because he's been a hustler, grinding on the phones, doing
Yeah.
deals, and that's addicting because you have control, right?
It's so true.
But we've been talking about like the term, and I was texting Nelson on the way here, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm going to do a podcast with Justice," and he's like, "Man, talk to him about scaling up," and we've been talking a long time about scaling up. So what do you think is in your way? Because right, I use this term LCO, leads conversion operations. You ramp up lead flow, you overwhelm yourself with lead flow, you dial in your sales process, you continue to build your sales team, then you focus on operations, you keep going through those three. So
Yep.
what has stopped you from kind of the next layer of increasing lead flow more
Yep.
and building, either having a lead manager, appointment setter, or starting to build your team out? Is it just a mental thing, or like what is stopping you?
It's definitely a mental thing, man. Because I remember when I first started, because any business you have to invest in it, right? And I remember when I first started for the prospecting software that I used when I was manually prospecting, it was $350 a month, and at that time I
Is
was
that
like,
Mojo?
Vulcan.
Moken? Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
similar.
and I just remember $350 a month, like what the heck? That's way too much. And I did it, and then you're like, okay, like you spend $300 a month, that's like 3,600 a year. But if one deal pays you 25, you're like, wait, that makes perfect sense. Of course, the 360 a month, that sounds good. So that's how I first started. And then now, it's obviously much more when you pay for your own leads. And I still find that worthwhile in terms of return on ad spend. And it's just, that makes perfect sense. And the next thing for it to click in my head is, okay, people leverage also has a return as well. And call it a little bit of maybe being timid, maybe, some mental thing that I got to go through.
Yeah.
I just feel, yeah, the relinquishing control is
Just
a bit difficult right now.
letting go of the reins a little bit.
Yeah, and making sure that, it's a profitable endeavor. And I know it will be because plenty of people have done it, and that's how business operates. It's just I'm growing and I'm dealing with all these different fires that I'm putting out, and I guess it's going to take a time of, a good period of, call it a month, 2 months of like really just dialing it in and focusing on that, just making sure it happens well.
I think the litmus test is, and I talk to our clients about this a lot. The litmus test is like, if you shut your laptop and you went to Thailand for a month and you didn't open it once, would your pipeline be worked? Would deals be signed or appointments be set if that happened?
Yeah.
Right?
The answer is no for
And
me.
there's not many people that can answer that question, yes. And that's the issue, I think, in the real estate business as a whole, is that we don't think about it like a business. And the quote I always use is, you can get really rich doing real estate deals. You can make up 100 grand a year. You can buy some rentals. You can do some flips. You can live a great life hustling and you being the business. But if you want to get wealthy, right, you want to do 3, 4, 5 deals a month. You want to have a team able to leave for a month. That's where the team comes in. So I think that the mental reframe is really just, you think about return on ad spend. What's my return on ad spend? Same on people. What's your return on employee?
Yep.
And right now for you, and every level you go up, it's going to be uncomfortable. So as you start building a team, it's going to be uncomfortable. But with just a lead manager or just an admin, a really good admin, or just one really good other agent on your team that can work leads, go on appointments.
Yep.
It'll probably double your business with one hire.
Wow.
Because you can double, triple lead flow. And
I believe it
yeah, I
too.
mean, if you had 200 leads coming in per month, and someone helps set appointments, 200 leads, and even in a market like you're in is 2, 3 deals a month. And you're the agent side, so you can push people that direction if it makes sense too. So I think a huge unlock will be there.
You're right, man. I think this podcast alone is going to convince me to go over the edge. And once I get a little bit of an exhale from this flip that we'll talk about in a second, once that happens, I think you and I are going to have that discussion and really ramp down, because that's what it takes, man. And it is time. It is time. I'm a hustler, no doubt about it. That's how I was raised. That's how I'm used to, but it's time to go from the hustler to more of an operator, stage of what you talk about in your teachings and whatnot. And I think it's time.
So for you guys listening, Justice, he's been an Easy Button client for a long time, and he bought this flip that was sourced from one of our leads. And this is a common question: is do I wholesale or flip? When's the point that I flip? He had this wholesale deal. Honestly, based on the numbers, he probably could have squeezed 75, maybe even $100,000 on. And he went down the route that a lot of people go down, which isn't the wrong route by any means, which is he wanted to flip that house. And he brought a partner in. I'm gonna let him talk about it, but walk us through, one, how you made the decision to flip that deal rather than wholesale, how the rehab went, because it's your first kind of bigger rehab,
Oh, yeah.
the partner, where you found them, why you chose them, the financing, and now kind of the learning lessons that have come from that deal overall. Which, if the market would have gone the other way, probably wouldn't be learning lessons, right? It'd probably be, hey, that was a great decision. So a lot of this is external, but go ahead and walk us through the beginning of that deal.
Absolutely, man. It's a whole lot to unpack. So essentially this EBL deal, which by the way, this is a good tip for the viewers, is that no matter where the lead comes from, it's a consistent follow-up, right? This one, it took about maybe 11 months of follow-up before I finally was able to be in a position where this lady was ready to play ball and entertain solid offers. And essentially I was looking at things, and I did the same thing at any appointment, right? You have the listing route, you have the wholesale route, you have the fix and flip route, and there's plenty of
So
different
you went and
situations.
negotiated this in person?
Yeah, in person.
And that process, the lead comes in, did you call and you kind of gauge they were pretty interested and you set the appointment?
Exactly, yes.
And what is the line for you to set an in-person appointment? Like, what has to be said on that phone conversation for you to decide to commit time and go out to the property?
Yeah, you have to gauge interest, you have to gauge motivation. They have to have a reason to, if they have no reason and it's just kind of like a make me an offer or make me move offer, that's naturally a waste of time. But if they have a motivation specifically to sell, a timeline, and also if their price is in the ballpark of reality, then I find that worthwhile to always go on, because you never know what an appointment could turn into, especially on the brokerage side of things. Say, for example, they were a colder lead and they wanted to sell in maybe 6 months to a year. If you set the appointment and shake hands, you meet in person, they have a chance to get a little bit of a gauge for who you are and what you're about, the probability of them going with a competitor now dwindles to practically maybe nothing, honestly, because if they vibe with you and they resonate with you, there's no need to interview other brokers if they're liking what they're hearing already. So I always err on the caution of going on the appointment rather than not. Maybe that's the right
There's a
thing.
big debate there of, like, I think so much of it's like time in this heat too, because a lot of people, I think, procrastinate by going on appointments. They're
Yeah.
like, hey, the person can get on the phone and be like, hey, maybe I'll sell one day. I want 200 grand more than Zillow. And like, oh, I'll come out and see it. Right.
Yeah.
To me, that's a form of active procrastinations, but it sounds like you have a system, and you guys out there that are doing in-person appointments, you want to create some kind of threshold, right? As if, like Justice was saying, they have a reasonable asking price, and there's clear interest there and clear motivation. So segue that I think is important for people. Let's go back to
Very
this
true.
deal. So you sit in the living room, and when you come into an appointment in person, I think it's valuable because you are an agent and an investor. How do you present yourself? What does that conversation look like? Are you walking the home and pointing out things? What is that process for you when you're in person?
God bless this lady. The home was an absolute hoarder home.
Okay.
It was, I'm talking boxes and trash up to taller than us. I'm talking, cats on the counters, everything like that. And it was a pretty rough situation. So I already knew in my head that it was probably not going to be a traditional brokerage deal, even though I did fully disclose that as an option. And really my method is just being, I think everyone should be, is just 100% honest. Say, hey, I'm a real estate broker. I also buy, and it is whatever's better for you, honestly. If you're on a time crunch where you need to be out of here and you don't prefer, random strangers coming to your house and open houses and all these processes, here's my price and what's worthwhile for me. Literally show them the pro forma, right? Okay, it's roughly a 300K renovation budget. We plan to sell for this 6-month holding time. Obviously, I'm not doing this for charity. If I'm gonna get a little bit of money on the back end, here's my price that I'm willing to
steal
pay.
that line from the Easy Button Book of Sales.
Is that?
This isn't a nonprofit. We're not a nonprofit.
I think I
We
might
want to pay
have.
you as much as you can, but it's not a nonprofit. I love that line.
Exactly, and
It
it's
always works. So like, oh yeah, I guess you're not here doing charity, right?
yeah,
Like,
people need to know that, like, obviously you're an honest person, but at the end of the day, like, you need to buy it for a price comfortable enough when you risk your butt that you end up green on the other side. And even then, like, we'll talk about how it's maybe not even green on the other side. We'll talk about it in a sec. But essentially, yeah, we went through that process, and she was vehemently against listing on the open market, wanted to see what the best would be for the off-market transaction, and ran the numbers with my colleague Chad, who's another agent out here in Carlsbad, a good buddy of mine. And we both looked at it. We looked at the numbers. I mean, ran it, visited the comps, ran everything, double, triple checked with mentors, checked with our hard money person as well, which are decently easy to find. Honestly, you can just ask, any active agent out there. There's always money to
if
be
you have a good
deployed.
deal, people want to lend you money, right?
Exactly. And I always heard that growing up, like, don't worry about finding the money, worry about finding the deal. And it's so true.
What were the terms, you guys?
20% down. They finance the renovation as well through an escrow holdback, roughly a little over 10% on the interest rate, which at the time was slightly, yeah, 1.5, I believe,
Okay, yeah,
1.75.
pretty standard hard money loan, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty fair, I mean, in my opinion. But we renovated the heck out of that thing. The actual renovation portion was quite fun. There was nothing, too difficult about it. I mean, there was plenty of obstacles that overcame, but it was more solutions oriented, and we were just tackling that. I mean, within 3 months, the home went from not good at all to a very attractive home. So, yeah, that was
So you did the whole renovation in 3 months.
yeah.
And did you lead that, or as your partner lead that?
We both led it because maybe on the design aspect of it, I probably took the wheel. On the contracting aspect, he had great comms with our contractor. And yeah, we were just coordinating that with our designer. And, it was really fun. Honestly, the actual renovation portion of the project was my favorite part. And now time for the dispossession end. So a little bit of context for the viewers. We're about maybe 46 days on market, 45 days on market. We've done over 250K in price improvements, which stings big time. And
You guys started at a number where you're like, this is a
yeah, we started at just a hair under 1995. And the reason why, on our pro forma, we always had 1.8, around 1.8 as our exit price, but the market was heating up. There were some comps selling for 2.1, one's entering escrow for 2.2, and we're like, hey, why not shoot for 1995? I mean, we did all this work, why not? And that was a bit of a mistake as well, especially on the first big project. I probably should have become a little bit more aggressive on the price from the jump just to save the days on market. But yeah, we just did a huge price reduction on that. And essentially, we are still definitely just trying to sell it. Definitely trying to sell it, man. And I think going back to what you were saying earlier, this was a topic where I think to myself, why didn't I just wholesale this? Why didn't I not just wholesale this, right? Could have made conservatively 50, um, potentially up to 100, depending on the situation, but conservatively 50. And it would have been a whole lot less risk, a lot less time. I kept the velocity of money up. I could have reinvested that profits into more callers. I could have done all these things. But I think the reason why I wanted to do a flip on this one is because I did see that possibility of
court.
it being worthwhile, right? I mean, hot market, lower interest rates, lower inventory. I mean, this sells for probably close to high 100s, like close to 200 each on the profit side. And I just seen way too good of a opportunity to pass up. And there's that. And then there's also, in terms of being proud of the project, I was really looking forward to doing my first flip because I had never done one. I've done them for clients, like obviously representing them on the renovations and whatnot, but actually doing it myself, being on title,
Now,
I was looking forward to it.
and now
Yeah,
you can say, I
I
did
did
that.
it.
And you started with a high, pretty big construction as the
Yeah,
first one. So yeah, I
that's
mean,
the
I think it's to what we were talking about before. It's paying tuition, right? You pay it one way or another.
yeah.
But I think it's a really common topic in debate of, people that have investment businesses of what homes do they wholesale, what if they're developers, what do they build, what do they flip, what do they wholesale? And to me, I think in real estate, we treat it like different than most businesses, but it should be treated like any other business in the sense of like, if your product is wholesaling, or you're an agent, then you should do that to the maximum degree you can so you can keep growing your business and in the function of your business. Now there is some deals like I can look back. There is one deal in Sammamish that I took $175,000 fee on when I was 20 years old. That if I would have flipped it, I probably would have made $400,000.
Wow.
So like there's always those like, oh shit, that would have been such a big flip spread. Why did I wholesale it? But the other side of it is like, there's also the 7 out of 10 that didn't go how you wanted, kind of like this one. and you walk away the same you would have made if you wholesaled it. So
Exactly.
moving past this flip, you're obviously still using us for leads, and I know you bought into a lot of the coaching, other stuff that we've helped you with. But moving past this flip, what in an ideal world does the next 6 to 12 months look like for Justice Rodgers Real Estate?
Yeah, that's a great
And
question.
lead flow team, what you're trying to build. If you had to fast forward, we're sitting next July. Hopefully, I can get this boat sold by then. Hopefully, we're not still sitting on this boat
Same boat.
a year from now. Hopefully, either a bigger boat or we're in a kayak. But rehashing the last year, going forward a year, what does a win look like for you the next year in terms of your team, leverage, scaling?
Mhm.
Are you gonna be doing more flips, more like what does this all look like for you?
It's a great question, and honestly, this is a bit of a therapy session because it's helpful to think through it, and have the time to think through it. My goal, honestly, I'm still down to hustle. I'm not trying to be a full-on operator where I'm, only working, 10, 15 hours a week on this specific business. I'm down to work, 50 plus on this business. My whole goal is to have more leverage and more leads that we can close more deals and have more at-bats and making better decisions at those at-bats as well. I think naturally out of any lead, this is why I believe that having that license is such a good thing because it allows you to monetize off of pretty much any lead, and especially more leads that aren't fit for wholesale or aren't fit for fix and flip. But yeah, just essentially doubling down on the leads, adding at least another salesperson to the team, and then
And
probably
is
some
that
admin
gonna
as
be a
well.
licensed broker
Yeah,
that can
most
do
likely.
both?
I would love to have another licensed agent, just, more, even if it's less profitable. I think it's just in terms of time and energy wise. I mean, if they're on autopilot and they need a little bit less hand holding, I can feed them more leads and make a spread off of
And
that.
and first principles thinking, how I work with our clients, how I train our team to work with our clients, how I think about my businesses, is I always think about what is the most important next thing, right? Because I think like willpower is limited, and I'm like anyone else. Some days I wake up and I write 30 things on my to-do list, right? And most people get through 3 if they're being honest with themselves. So like if you had to boil it down to like what is the most important next step to grow, and by grow I mean create more inventory for yourself. What do you think that most important next step is if you had to boil it down to one thing? And the real question is if this one thing was completed all the way to completion and done well, would it make everything else easier or not important? So like for an example for me is like I go through this exercise with myself a lot. Like recently in my business, I had to ask myself that question, um, and I work with my business coach on it, and it came from me like I needed to promote someone on my team to COO. That was the highest leverage thing I could do, and I did it, and it's gotten me so much leverage back. So, what is that one highest leverage thing that you think if you did would raise your ceiling the most?
I think at this exact moment, and it might not be the expected answer, I think it's admin and or sales at this exact moment, because even at this stage with the 3, 4 escrows I have going on right now and the flip that I have going on right now, I'm not effectively following up with the leads that I do have in the pipeline.
Yeah.
If you have a couple hundred leads in the pipeline and you have, 4 or 5 hours worth of client work to do in a day, and then you're working on answering calls and questions, and you're out at appointments, doesn't leave you too much time to follow up with 200 leads. So I think there's plenty of money to be made in the pipeline that I have now, and having
How many
either
leads are in your pipeline?
over a couple hundred. And I'm pretty picky with the leads I keep in my pipeline as well. If I'm not the type to, if someone remotely expresses
They don't
interest,
recruiter.
yeah, to like follow up with, all these leads that are, 5 years from now and 7 years from now, and maybe this, maybe that. I'm just more of, having an abundance mindset of like, there's someone who wants to pull the trigger in the next year and a half here. So, those are the ones that I keep in my pipeline, and there are plenty of deals to be done right now that I'm not actively doing a good enough job at following up with. And that I think is a quicker problem to solve. We'll definitely talk more about that. And once that's solved, I mean, naturally the next step after that is just more leads. And yeah, more leads and then people to handle those leads. And that's what's going to lead to more revenue at the end of the day. So that's the goal. As of right now, my main focus is just getting this flip off my books and, living and learning. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we're at right now.
I love it, man. Yeah, I think I like to do on my show. Like if I put myself in your shoes for 6 months, I think the first thing I would do is one kind of reframe what a lot of leads is and what a big pipeline is, because I think so much about scaling is psychological, and I think we have this unconscious fear of like, what does our business look like at 4 times the size? So the first thing I would do if I was you, I think the highest leverage thing you can do is just hire a $7 to $10 an hour person that just lives in your pipeline and works your leads and sets appointments. And then I would literally scale lead flow until you suffocate yourselves in that. And they have 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 new leads a day to work. You're working the hotter ones. You're going on appointments all day. Eventually you bring a listing person on your team. But if I had to categorize it, I would say lead manager first, scale lead flow, salesperson, and then focused on operations, which could be an admin. It could be a part-time TC that works just for you. Could be another salesperson. And to me, with your experience, now you've done a flip, you've done wholesale deals, you've done listings, you have a portfolio, you have a brand. You're positioned, in my opinion, to be signing between listing agreements, wholesale deals, and flips. You want to do them. You're positioned, if you do those things in the next 6, 12 months, to be signing 3 or 4 deals a month.
Wow.
I
I
think
believe
I
it.
think fairly even in a funky market like we're in right now. And then that foundation, as rates come back into the 5, which I think is gonna be the sweet spot when it kind of switches back to a seller's market, you'll have the foundation to kind of go through your own gold rush and probably triple, quadruple, 10x your net worth in a
Wow.
2-year, 3-year span. So, I mean, I think that is the steps that I would take to put yourself in a spot where you have unlimited deal flow. You have an I call them oh shit months. Your oh shit month is like, hey, I got 2 listings in a wholesale deal done this month. Pretty shitty month, but I still made 50 grand, got my team fed, things are moving forward. Right. So I
It's a
think that
great oh
is,
shit month.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is kind of the if I was stepping in your shoes for 6 months or a year, that would be my thought process and focus. And so much of the work would be up here too. Of
Mhm.
like, think every single day I have a post-it note, like I do for myself, like, think like a business owner. Don't think like a hustler. And there's a quote, Kent Clothier, who's a big investor, social media guy. He lives in San Diego. He has a saying which is in order for the business owner to come out, the hustler has to die. And it's more of a psychological shift than anything of like, hey, who, not how, who can do this rather than me? Who can I hire for this instead of myself? And thinking one level up. And I think you've been in it long enough. You have a brand, you have the deals under your belt, you've taken the kicks and the nuts.
I definitely have.
You've gone through it where, now you can sit there and, and do that and do a cool operation.
You know, I know you're right. I know you're
Right.
right.
Yeah.
And if it takes for you just sitting me down and forcing me to do this, like let's just do it and rip the Band-Aid off, because I know you're absolutely right. Because I'm rewinding the tape a year and a half, 2 years ago when I first started with EBL and whatnot, that I was hesitant to jump in and spend, obviously for a lot of people, investing in your business is scary, especially as you scale up. And, I just remember meeting with you and just taking the leap of faith, and it did work out in terms of having more, having a return on your ad spend and it being worthwhile. That was a scary moment and
Yeah,
it worked out.
yeah.
And I'm thinking right now, out of the my last 3, 4 deals either in escrow or pending right now, 2 out of the 4 are directly from EBL. And then those 2 leads pay for EBL for years, so it's,
Exactly.
it
I mean,
makes sense.
that's what I try to tell our clients is like, with the way we're priced, if you do 1 deal a year, you get a 3x chart. If you do 2 deals a year, you get a 5x, even on our core package, right? So like, you're thinking about it the right way, where this is a pipeline business, right? And whether the market's up or down or sideways, if you're going to build a career out of this, the goal is like, for me, the way I think about my companies is like, I try to spend every free dollar in cash flow I can on more leads, more opportunity, and building, because it's just one, in our 20s, like, there's only once you get a watch and you have a car you like and you can travel and you can eat out, like,
That's it. That's all you need.
there's nothing really like you think about beyond that. So yeah, man, I'm excited for what you're building. I'm excited for what you're doing. I'm excited that we're a part of it, and to continue to push you to build that, because I'm gonna be on your ass for sure.
Oh yes, please, man. I need that push, and it'll all work out. Absolutely. I think we're moving in the right direction. And when I look at things, it's just all about, is the arrow moving in the right direction or in the wrong direction? And slowly but surely, even though all the obstacles that we're dealing with, and definitely moving in the right direction.
Well, my man, where can people find out about you, get a hold of you?
Yeah,
I've been pushing you for a long time to start posting more on social media too. So make sure you're posting some of these clips. So where can people
absolutely.
connect with Justice Rodgers, get in contact with you if they need to buy or sell? Also, if they're just trying to learn more about the flip game, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
How can they get in contact with you?
absolutely. Instagram, Justice .Rodgers, Rodgers, and then probably just text me 760-468-2733 for any off-market deals, any questions that you have. I'm happy to be a helping hand from my experience and just give 2 cents on things. And yeah, I appreciate it.
Cool, y'all. Well, thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Easy Button Real Estate Podcast live from the floating studio today in Mission Beach, San Diego. As always, you guys, we don't run paid promotion behind the show. We grow your word of mouth from you telling your friends, family, coworkers. We've grown a ton in the last year, and super excited for what's to come. So leave a like, a share, a review wherever you listen. Reach out if you guys have any suggestions for shows. And until next time, you're only one deal away.